Hello, everybody. My name is John Stanforth, and I'm the mayor of Wilmington. And I'm going to read you a book today called Grandfather Counts. But to make it easier to understand me, I'm going to pull my mask down because I'm in a room by myself right now. But you always want to remember, when you're out in a group, you always want to wear your mask. This book starts, Gong Gong, grandfather, was one of the last people off the airplane. He walked slowly towards the crowd waiting at the terminal. Ba, 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 Mom shouted. His eyes lit up as he looked in our direction. Mom ran over and hugged him. Dad, Henry, Cece, and I stood back waiting. And there you can see Grandpa running towards his daughter and giving her a big hug at the airport. Finally, I went closer. Gong Gong patted my head and smiled. Then he said something to me. I looked to Mom for help. Gong Gong says you look very nice, Mom explained. Thank you, I said. Gong Gong kept talking to me in Chinese. When he realized I didn't understand, he turned to Mom, a look of surprise on his face. I wanted to explain that Mom had tried to teach us Chinese. She had gotten us Chinese flashcards with words and pictures. Once she sent us to the Chinese Sunday school, but we didn't want to go back. The kids there already spoke Chinese. They were learning to write characters, and we didn't understand anything they said. And there you can see Grandpa, Gong Gong, and the little girl. On the way home, everyone was quiet. Gong Gong dozed next to me. I watched and wondered what he was dreaming. Did he dream in Chinese? When we got home, Mom took Gong Gong to his room and shut the door. He's tired, she said. Let him rest. It had been my room, a small back room, just big enough for a desk and a bed. From the windows, I could see the railroad tracks that ran along the back of the house to places I could only imagine. To get ready for Gong Gong's arrival, we had moved my bed into Cece's room. Her room faced the streets. No tracks, no train cars to count as they sped by. There you can see Gong Gong sleeping in the car, and you can see the little girl looking out the window with no railroad tracks. Or the railroad tracks show there, but her new room doesn't. We put up wallpaper in my room, green with small dots. Mom said it would hide the cracks caused by the rumbling of the trains going by. I miss those cracks, all connected and spreading out from the middle like the branches of a tree in winter. Mom got upset when the last sheet of wallpaper wrinkled near the ceiling. Dad tried to smooth it with his fingers, but it just creased more. It looks okay, I said. No one will see it way up there. Mom wasn't sure. When you do a job, always do it right, she said. Gong Gong told me that when I was 4 and he was teaching me to write my name, he said my name was a family name and I shouldn't scribble it at any old way. But I was little and it was hard to make the strokes of the Chinese characters right. And there you can see they're putting up the wallpaper in the room. And Dad's up on the ladder. I got this picture in my head of Mom as a 4-year-old trying to write with a paintbrush full of lumpy wallpaper paste instead of an ink brush. I started to laugh, but I could see Mom didn't think there was anything funny going on. Helen, Mom said, annoyed, go find something else to do. I suddenly felt a lump in my throat. Why was Mom in such a bad mood? All because of Gong Gong? Why does he have to come anyway, I cried, and take my room? Mom looked at me surprised. Then she said quietly, he's my father. It is my duty to take care of him. I didn't want to listen. I ran down the stairs and out the door and down the path toward the railroad tracks. and you can see she's going down the stairs and going out the door. After Gong Gong first tried to speak to me at the airport, he didn't say much to anyone. Cece drew a picture of flowers and butterflies. He smiled at her and handed the picture back. "It's for you," Cece said, but Gong Gong didn't understand. So I taped the picture to the door. Then he understood. He nodded and smiled at Cece. "See, he does like it," I told her. One by one, Gong Gong read through the Chinese newspapers he had brought with him. Mom tried to get him to go out, but most of the time he shook his head and went back to his reading. "What will Gong Gong do when he's finished all the newspapers?" I asked. "Give him some time," said Mom. "He has so many new things to get used to." And there you can see Grandpa with the painted picture on the door and see him reading his newspapers. Since I couldn't see the trains from Cece's room, I waited for it out back on the concrete wall. Sometimes I saw Gong Gong looking down at me from my old room. Soon I realized he wasn't looking at me at all. He was waiting for the train. When the engineer waved to me, Gong Gong reached out and waved back. See Gong Gong in the upstairs window, waving at the train? And see Helen sitting on the wall. Early one evening, I was sitting on the concrete wall, waiting for the train, when I saw Gong Gong coming down the path. He sat down next to me, his legs hanging over the wall just like mine. We could feel the train coming before we heard the low rumble. Then there it was. "Yai san si wu ling qua ba," said Gong Gong, holding up a finger for each car that went by. I liked the way his voice went up and down softly with each word. The engineer waved from the last car, and then the train was out of sight. Gong Gong said the first word again and looked at me. Waiting, I repeated the word, holding up one finger to match his. "Yai," I said. "One." I got it. Slowly Gong Gong said all the numbers up to 8, and I repeated them. We started over and practiced until I could say them all by heart. Gong Gong clapped for me. Then I held up one finger and said, "One." "One," Gong Gong repeated after me. Before long, he could count to 8 in English. "You did it," I said, and Gong Gong took my hands in his and gave them a quick squeeze. See, they're sitting on the wall, teaching each other how to count. I found a small piece of broken concrete and used it to write Helen on the wall. "Helen," I said, pointing to what I had written. "Helen," Gong Gong repeated, tracing the letters with his fingers. Then he picked up a piece of concrete and wrote 2 Chinese characters on the wall. "Gong Gong," he said, pointing to the characters. He took my hand and helped me copy his name. Just then I saw Henry and Cece coming down the path. "I've called you 1,000,000 times," said Henry. "Come on, it's time for dinner." "Sorry," I said. "We didn't hear you. Gong Gong and I were busy." We walked up the path together. "Yai sang," I said, counting my steps. 4, 5, 6, Gong Gong said, counting where I left off. And there you can see them walking in the house to go to supper. At dinner, Dad told us about a new computer program for learning languages. A friend of his at work had given him a copy of a Chinese version. Dad said it was really great. "It starts out real simple," Dad explained. "The voice says, 'Zai Hai,' and then you click on the picture of children." "Zai Hai," Gong Gong repeated. He smiled and gave Dad a thumbs up. Then Gong Gong looked at me. 3, Zai Hai, he said. It was my turn to give him a thumbs up. See them all sitting around the table, eating their meal? Hey, Mom, what's my Chinese name? I asked. Ying Ha, Mother replied. Gong Gong gave you your name when you were born. Gong Gong, I said, pointing to myself, and I repeated, Ying Hai. Gong Gong nodded. Then he pointed to Cece and Henry. Ying Lin, Ying Ru. Hey, we're all Ying something, said Cece. Yes, because you're all in the same family, said Mom. And you're all the same generation. Cool, said Henry. And see everybody around the table? They're smiling at what just they learned about their Chinese names. After my bath that night, I walked by my old room. There was Gong Gong sitting at the desk. I looked over his shoulder, and he was printing Helen over and over. Gong Gong, you're writing my name, I said. Gong Gong smiled and motioned for me to sit down next to him. Then he wrote some Chinese characters and said, Ying Ha. Gong Gong handed me the pen, and I tried to copy the characters as best I could. I didn't do a very good job, but then he showed me how to make the strokes in the right order. I wrote my name again and again and did much better. Hen Hao, Gong Gong said, squeezing my shoulder. That meant very good. Mom always said Hen Hao when I brought home my best work from school. Gong Gong stood up and went over to Cece's picture on the door. He pointed to the flower and said, Ah. I understood. Ha meant flower. I was Gong Gong's flower. And there you can see where he's been writing her name and where she has written his name. Suddenly I heard the familiar low rumble. Gong Gong, I said. We looked at each other quickly and then went to the window. Yai, sang, si, wu, li, I counted. 6, said Gong Gong. 6 cars, I said. 6 cars, Gong Gong repeated slowly. And see him looking out the window at the train passing by. The engineer blew the whistle as Gong Gong and I waved goodnight to him together. And there you can see the grandfather and the granddaughter at the window waving at the train. That's the end of the story. Thanks for listening.